Welcome back to the Peace and Happiness Podcast. I'm your host, Cassie Tan, and we are going into part 2 of Raquel's 48 top insights. This session is going to be 12 top insights on grow yourself, and just grow, period. Raquel, you've worked with many people, and a lot of people have taken your Peace and Happiness programs. They've done the workshops, they've done courses. And I've seen it myself, and within myself, like there's a lot of growth, even in the past 8 months that we've been working together, like growing. So, how have you been able to go through the process of grow after heal? You know, like we were talking about in the heal, the 12 insights, there's always that loop of healing. So how can we get to the heal and now to grow?
Well, for me is I call it a BHAG, and most people in the V-Saga programs know, like, I got to get my BHAG, right? Big, hairy, audacious goal. Like, what is something that seems out of the scope of me being able to achieve it? And that aligns with my heart, a sense of joy or purpose, you know? Doesn't always have to be purpose. Sometimes it could be for the sense of joy, right? And so having my BHAGs in life and the things that I'd like to see come forward is a big part of why grow is such a big part of the V-Saga component. One of the things that I do in the initial introduction workshops is the Peace and Happiness workshop. I talk about how everyone can be iconic. Within us, when you really know who you are, if you listen to the Heal podcast, right? Once you get rid of all these wounds and you process and you're free and you're just like at a baseline, like, and you know who you are, your mad power, your love, your beauty, your everything and anything that truly you desire. And so from there, you get to choose, like, well, what do you want to do? Because when we're in our wounds, we're limited and we're heavy, and we tend to just be a cyclical, right, vicious cycle of the pain and the ego. But once you're free of that, you actually can set up a BHAG. And when you do, you're going to have to grow. And so that's where I came up with Heal Grow.
Nice. Well, I have 12 of the insights here that I want to go over, the top 12. The first one is nothing real can be threatened.
I love that one. I learned that from the Course in Miracles book. And nothing real can be threatened is when I have a goal and I've set out a project, whatever it is, and it seems to be falling through, it's not happening, I just remember nothing real can be threatened. And so that just gives me a lot of neutrality, which is part of the consciousness scale. And it's in the higher part, right? Where it actually, you start to create, you become a creator of your life. And so I surrender. I do what I can. I reframe, refocus, reset, whatever I need to do. But I don't go into that threat. I don't go into anxiety. I don't go into a fear. If this is real, this is meant to be, it can't be threatened. And I take that with my relationships. I take that with my projects. I just take that with life. So that's one of the key things that has allowed me to always grow, is to not feel threatened. Because that survival thing that is in our nervous system regulation from the beginning of time,
that's not growing.
That's not growing, and that's very cyclical, right?
Yeah.
But that phrase pulls me out of it instantly. And now it just gets me into my growth, my consciousness, my cognitive thinking. What needs to happen for me to get this back on track? Relationship or project, whatever it is.
I'm going to make that into a shirt. A bracelet. Insight number 2. How I do anything is how I am doing everything.
That is like this microscope that gives me this spiritual sight. It's the frequency, the dynamic. And so if I'm struggling and stumbling or failing on something, and I'm not being able to grow into the next level, the next state of it, I just look at, like, what in me, because we're always the chokehold. People don't like to hear that, but if you're going to grow, especially want to grow something, a BHAG, you're going to have to take the accountability and the responsibility. Responsibility is response ability. It's the ability of how I can respond to things, right? And so that's just like a key thing for me. Like I always look at like, okay, what am I doing that it's not servicing? And so, and I always find it always, and you guys always hate it that you guys say, oh, I hate it. But you guys have finally, all coaches in the V-Saga have come to like terms with it. Yeah. It's in me. It's up. If it's to be, it's up to me.
Right.
So yeah, that insight is game changing.
Yeah. I think I've even taken that into when I teach yoga too. Like what you do on the mat is what you do off the mat. Mm-hmm. So how are you showing up in your practice right now? Are you like pushing yourself like, I need to get this? So how are you showing up outside? Yeah. So it's in everything. Insight number 3. Praise feels good, yet criticism to me is a cheat sheet to my blind spots.
So a lot of times people limit their growth because they get so stuck in their feelings and they don't realize that they don't like to be told or have shared with them. I remember actually this happened. Somebody reached out and they wanted 3 words when you think of them. I don't know what. And I thought they wanted me to be open, authentic, and honest, but apparently they didn't. They got very stuck, and I said the 3 words, and 2 of them like they didn't see as favorable, and it was because that is a lot of how they came across. And I was actually their boss, and it was just really funny because we ended up having to go into an in-depth, and it just came out the ego. Like we don't like to accept, us being wrong. People will die not to be wrong. Right. Yeah. And so for me, I've let go of that. Like if you tell me something's wrong, I'm going to be like, a year from now, you're not going to be able to tell me that same thing. And that doesn't mean I go around believing anyone, right? and their perspective of me, right. But I'll listen to it and I'll put it to the light. And if I can see even an ounce of truth in it, I'm going to like take it and reverse engineer it and get myself on track. So yeah, when you critique me, I don't see it as a negative. I see you as helping me out. Even if your tone wasn't nice. Like, is it true? Like, who cares about how you're saying it? Who cares if you're trying to dig at me? Is it true? And if is it true, well, then I should fix it. Yeah. I should course correct. Right. Because I'm okay being a human and I'm not perfect and I fail often. So thank you for the insight.
Right.
So I think helps. Yeah, that's helped me grow a lot. I'm very open to listening to people's perspective of me. Again, I'm not trying to please anyone, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, like if there's a shred of truth, like I want to know or see where that's coming from.
And here's the other one, is there utility? Like maybe you're seeing, like for example, reminds me, I'm not the type of person that is, good morning, how are you? Sometimes like I'll shoot a text, I'm like, oh yeah, I want to remind you, right? Yeah. And people are like, good morning. And I'm like, oh yeah, good morning. And a loved one once tried to tell me that was wrong and I should change that. And I said, I can change that for you because I love you. And that's important to you. Right. And I don't want you to feel disrespected. But I'm not going to change that because my wiring, a lot of people say, how do you do so much? How do you get so much done? Well, because of my wiring. So I don't want to change that. Yeah. Because that's one of the things that allows me. And if you get offended because I didn't say good morning, well, then tell me and I'll change it and I'll make sure to note it down and say good morning to you. Yeah. That doesn't mean I don't say good morning to people. It just means sometimes I'm very, one track minded. Yeah. And so that's what I mean by that.
Okay. Number 4. Wait, number 4, right?
I think so.
Yeah. Fail fast, fail hard, and fail often.
If you're going to grow and you're paralyzed, and you're just stuck and afraid and fear of not making the wrong move, it's going to take forever. But I often will launch things not in with every detail intact, but I'm okay because I'm already like course correcting from the soft launch or the pre-launch or whatever it is, right? So I just have found that I'm okay with failing, but I want to fail fast and I want to fail often so I get to my actual answers and what needs to be sooner than later. So that's what I mean by that. If you're going to grow, don't be afraid to fail. If anything, fail fast, fail often. I heard that somewhere. I forget who said that, but I heard that and I really took that to heart and it's really helped me.
Yeah.
A lot of people are like, how did you get the journal out in 30 days? And now we re-edited and I found a lot of things like, okay, this really made people's psyche get stuck on, oh, I didn't do the week or, and so I changed it, right? Even the reframe it. I couldn't know that until I launched it, that's what people get stuck on. And a lot of journals are done that way. And I was like, oh, that doesn't service. So I like to fail fast and fail often because I'm tweaking things and tinkling with things. And I'm trying to see, okay. Yeah. And I see a lot of journals, they are by the date and the month. And I realize people get stuck on that. Oh, well, it's already March. And then they just leave it, right? Yeah. And they feel like a failure. And I'm like, no, let me change my journal and let it just have modules and prompts and let the public know that they could jump around. What module do you want to do? Now it just becomes a book that they're more connected to getting an outcome from than seeing it from the linear thinking that we're all conditioned about. You didn't follow and you fell off track. So fail fast, fail often. That's it worked for me.
That's big. And I see you do that too, because for me, when we've done and worked closely now with new things like coming up with, we've never worked an event. So when I'm doing an event, I'm like, I need to make sure I did this because this is how I did it in the past. I need to make sure this is right and that is right and this is right and that's right and we have to get this and that, and you're just like, well, we don't have it, like we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Yeah.
And it goes back to the heal part. Like you give the meaning and significance and interpretation to things. And I understood that. I know what you're talking about. Like recently working with the state of California, the county of San Bernardino, doing their wellness events. Like that's a huge account for us. Right. And you know, the clients are social workers, therapists, counselors. Right. So we want to show our best, you know, foot forward. I get that. Yeah. Okay. And if we fall here and there, it's okay. Like I understand the core of us and what the messaging is and what we have to give is so much bigger than if this flyer it wasn't
piece
done.
Of paper. The ink.
And so I'm like, look, we're going to try and do all the little bells and whistles best we can. But if something misses, I'm okay with it. Yeah. We'll get it. And then we had 2 weeks back to back, right? So yes. So that's, that's a good example.
Yeah. It's helping me. Number 5, insight number 5, cautious is okay. Fear is not an option if I'm going to grow.
So a lot of the times people think that fear is good, but I also know that there's only ever fear or love. And I will always choose love. And so then it's like, okay, Raquel, but you gotta be aware of this and this can happen. I go, that's fine. So I can be cautious. I can be strategic. And a lot of times people don't realize they're coming from fear. And that frequency is very heavy and it pulls you and it drags you down. Cautious, that's actually from reason and logic. It is reasonable for me to be aware of this and be aware of that. And be strategic about this or that. Yeah. So knowing the distinction between those two can still have you make sure that you avoid things and failings that are unnecessary or excessive, yet it doesn't have to come from fear. No to fear. It's in the lower part of underneath the 200. I have no business, no desire to be under that dynamic.
Yeah. That's a good distinction.
It's contracted. Yeah. It contracts you. Fear contracts you.
Right.
Cautious is neutral.
Yeah. There's that saying or something, like if your dreams, if it doesn't, Like something about fear with your dreams.
Oh,
And
like
it's
if it doesn't work, don't change the dream, just kind of change the procedure or something like that.
something around that, like with a fear. But that makes sense. You are coming from that state of fear. So it's like, is that really growing? But to be cautious that's a risk
And I've
and a
just learned,
responsibility.
yes, I've learned
Yeah.
to use the map of consciousness as a reference tool. And so fear is in the contracted state in the bottom underneath 200, where cautious is just using my reason and my logic. And so that makes it neutral. So, yeah.
Oh, I'm going to have to write that one down too. Number 6, insight number 6. Crap travels down, not up.
Yes. I remember one of my studio managers taught me that. And I loved it. He critiqued me. I remember back 2014, 15. And he says, well, he didn't use the word crap. He said, shh, travels down, not up. And I was like, what did you say? And I just remember, and he elaborated on what it meant, that anything that was going wrong was on me because I'm the leader. And I took that to heart and I've ran with it I use that with a lot of the Fortune 500 people that I work with, clients. And it's like, yeah, it's on me. And you working with me know that.
Yeah.
I may fester. I may have my insufferable moments, but you know that I will always look at it like, what did I do?
Right.
How is this on me? And the other thing too, that when it's on me, then I have the power to change it. But if it's on you, then I have to wait on you, you know? And so I really like, but yeah, crap travels down in families. If you have, oh, my kids okay, where are you teaching them? Where are you modeling this? Where is your frequency and your dynamic? That, because this is just an outside expression of what you have going on. And parents have a hard time, but once I break that down and they are able to see it, often they don't want to see it. They don't, but once I show them, they're like, dang, like it's, yeah. So crap travels down, it doesn't travel up. So always, especially if you're if you're growing, right?
Right.
You usually tend to be in leadership roles, whether it's the family or in business. So yeah, that one's huge for me.
Insight number 7. Even if your critique is biased and personal, I will still take it and put it in my pocket for later use when applicable.
That was taught to me by the head department of psychology from the Oklahoma University. He's so amazing. I just smile thinking of him. He taught me that. And he says, Raquel, somebody might tell you something and they will be completely off basis. But trust that in your lifetime, you're a human. You're going to err. And what people might not apply, just let them vent. It doesn't have to define you. Just put that in a piece of paper and put it in your pocket. And so it just serves like in the future. And it has happened where I'll go over something like years later and I'll be, and I'll be able to connect. And so, yeah.
Can you see that almost like a way of seeing how far like that growth has come from when it was given to you?
Well, yeah, even that, right? Like even that very teaching.
Yeah.
I'm using it today. And I'll give you an example. Like, let's say you're, like I said, it might be biased, you're critiquing me, or the situation I told you about 2021. I could just be, I'm not to blame, or I could defend myself or whatever, right? But I took that whole thing and put it in the pocket, and then I put it away because it holds value, because now I have a responsibility in leadership. Why did I come across that way? What did I do?
Yeah.
Like, even if it's biased, even if you're on basis, okay, but at what angle can I in the future avoid that happening?
Yeah.
And so that's just huge. I always think everything happens for a reason. And, I'm not going to call crazy. I'm just going to be like, well, why is it crazy saying this?
Yeah.
I'll get, my mom's going through something, and she does this weird thing where she just wants to throw everything into the toilet. And she's been clogged a few times. And I sat and I meditated this morning, actually. And I was like, why is she doing that? And I've done everything. Like, I put child lock things so she's not grabbing stuff from underneath the sink and throwing it in the toilet. But I sat with it and I was like, why is she doing that? And then when I was meditating, I was like, oh, she's just trying to get rid of stuff. She wants to throw things away. And then, because how we do anything is how we're everything. It's how we're wired. And I was like, okay, this is what I can do to help her release and feel. So that's what I mean. Like, even if something doesn't apply at the moment, if you sit with it, you'll be able to get an in-depth understanding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow. With something like that too. You just sit in there.
Yeah, I just put it in my note, the note in my pocket. Like, I need to figure out why she's doing this. And I know that with Alzheimer's and dementia, they say, well, you don't understand why they do things. You just kind of try to, come with a good heart with them and tone. Mm-hmm. I get that, but at the same time, I'm like, I want to figure stuff out.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm figuring it out because now I can emotionally help. I understand what's going on.
Mm-hmm. And that's a good space to be in.
And that's how we grow.
For everyone. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We grow relationships. We grow our abilities. We grow our mind. Yeah.
Right. And it's like what you said. You can only take someone so far. So when people have that experience, and even with your family, like, you have that tool now. Hey, if you notice this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Number 8. I look for even an ounce of truth to put it to the light to benefit my growth instead of defending myself.
If I'm defending myself, I'm challenging, I'm in resistance. If I allow it to land and it's not true, I know it's going to just end up rolling off my back. It's like it's going to have no fruit. But if there's any truth to it and I hold it to light and I water it by giving it the attention, by just holding it to the light, it's going to produce fruit. And that fruit is going to be an insight, an empowerment, a revelation, a distinction, just like an insight. Mm-hmm. And so, I don't defend. I try to process and hold things to light and let it reveal things to me.
Yeah. That's big. Because a lot of people won't do that. It is a lot of defensive-ness. Yeah. And I think I had to do that too recently. Remember when I was telling him, like, I had to sit with it and I had to think about it. And I'm like, okay, where am I coming from that? Where is that in me? Yeah. And I'm like, oh, okay.
I could say the whole like V-Saga got birthed from me doing that. Like, look at how much it's grown.
Yeah.
Like, look at how it impacts people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's huge.
Mm. Number 9, humility cannot be humiliated.
It goes back to the defensiveness, and a lot of people fear being humiliated or embarrassed or made wrong. And really that's showing that in the underline, if you see it, is we're not humble. I don't want to be humiliated. I don't want to be embarrassed. I don't want to be made wrong. But if you're actually humble, you can't be humiliated. Because you tell me, well, Raquel, you really went about it wrong this way and you should have done this. And I'm like, and I'm humble. I'm like, oh, wow, really? I didn't think about it. How'd you get there? Or like, oh, wow, my apologies. Like, actually recently something happened with the graduation with the coaches, and something completely like unbeknownst to me, I put a thing without a plus size for the robes to be ordered. And then I didn't realize that I should have picked a robe that had plus sizes, but it wasn't like, I wasn't malicious. Mm-hmm. I didn't do that consciously or with intent. And so I'm humble. I can't be humiliated that I was this thoughtless leader.
Yeah.
I'm learning things every day.
Right.
So yeah, humility cannot be humiliated. And so that has really allowed me to expand my understanding of things.
It drops the defensiveness too.
Yes. The ego, the defensiveness, they all go out the door.
Insight number 10. People around me are an extension of the relationship I have with myself. So if I don't like something, look within, man in the mirror.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, it says it all, man in the mirror. Like, I have grown by understanding anytime I want to come and like word vomit on you on everything I'm seeing wrong, I like to sit with it and see how I'm doing the very thing that I'm seeing in you. Because I can only see it in you because it exists in me. And then when I'm able to see where it exists in me and I'm able to dismantle it, it usually 80% of the time will resolve the problem. And so that's just been huge for me. Just really, man in the mirror, like, how is this on me?
Yeah.
And it grows me.
Yeah. So it's like almost like, how am I showing up too?
Yeah. Yeah. Like, how am I I mean, it's a little bit different. I get what you're saying. Like, how am I showing up? But what I mean when I say, like, if something bothers me about you and I look like, okay, why is this bothering me? It's going to allow me to see where maybe I'm being excessively anal or restrictive or rigid.
Yeah.
And where's that rigidness coming from?
Yeah.
And that rigidness is always going to have to do something with me and nothing with you.
Yeah, I remember that. You have that exercise in the 40-day empowerment healing course. Mm-hmm. And I did that. I wrote it. It was about a director in my last job. And I was writing all this stuff out. And then at the end, you're like, all those things are within you. I'm like, what in the hell? No, there's no way. And then I did. I thought about that. And I was just like, he's so defensive and he'll take his team's word before listening to other people. And then when I thought about that, I'm like, yeah, I defend my team. Like, I will defend my team because I know their ability and I've seen it. So I'm like, oh, shoot, I am. Same energy. Maybe different execution, but same energy.
I recently had a client and they had booked a session and we started to talk and they started to talk about the thing they were going through with a friend. And they're like, oh my gosh, no, I do not want to make this session about that situation and that person. Like, I want to get so much more. I go, well, it's not going to be about that person. So we still want to really tackle it from what you're saying, because in the end, it's going to have to do everything with you. And sure enough, it ended up being this tsunami of emotions that she had regarding not feeling loved by their half siblings and the way the parents are. And it had nothing to do with the friend. And that's what I'm saying. Like, when you really look at the man in the mirror, you are able to grow yourself because you're pulling yourself out of like the darkness. Mm-hmm. And because she was just in the dark about so much about feelings that she wasn't even aware were so deep. So that's what I mean. Mm. So it's more than how you're showing up. It's where you're rooted and coming from.
Right. Yeah. Number 11. Oh, it's similar. The mirror effect will have you forever elevating and rising above. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Different, right? Because the mirror is like how I'm approaching things. And what I'm saying with the mirror effect will have you, what did I say?
Forever elevating and rising above.
If I make how people are or being none of my business, and I just keep focusing within me, it just keeps leveling me up. It just keeps rising. It just keeps expanding. It just keeps giving me more reach. It just gives me more understanding. It just gives me more wisdom. And so I learned this very early on with my kids. I'd want to and then I'd stop myself and be like, okay, where am I not living to my potential? Where am I not, whatever it was that I was thinking they were doing. And so I initially learned it from them, that the more that I decided to go within, even though I had valid reason of whatever I was feeling with them, if I would just clean it up in me, it's so funny. They would eventually follow suit. And I have found that with the coaches, in our company, that if I want something from staff, well, where am I not being that thing? And I just feel my heart explodes when I think of all of you guys, because I think that everyone just sees like, okay, how can I show up from what I'm modeling instead of what I'm telling you?
Yeah. Yeah, that's different from 11. You're right.
Yeah.
And then the last insight for grow. Instead of solely seeking to grow, rather have fun, unveiling the full expression of who lives within me according to who God created me to be.
Can you read that again?
Instead of solely seeking to grow, rather have fun unveiling the full expression of who lives with me according to who God created me to be.
Yes. So in the personal development, self-actualization, therapy, I think that we just have this thing of we're trying to fix ourselves. And so we grow for the sake of like fixing or being better, the bigger car, the bigger house, the better vacations, whatever it is, right? That's a very collective way of being. And I don't want to grow to be more, to be smarter, to, be. No, I like to grow in the sense of to be the full expression of the joy or the beauty that's in my spirit and my persona. I don't want to grow to the standards or the metrics of the collective. I think there's something very beautiful when we step into our spirit. And for me, the ultimate grow is to grow into that, who God created me to be.
Instead of always just seeking like the next position, the next phase in my life. It's just...
My kids sometimes feel like everything's about growth with me. Like they say, you value growth so much. And I can see that sometimes they think I'm trying to grow to like get somewhere. And we've had these talks and they get it that it's not. Like I'm trying to grow to get somewhere, like a destination.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I'll never be more than I am right now. I'll never be more enlightened than I am right now. So what do I mean by that? Is I allow the layers of the collective to drop from me. The only thing that's being left more and more is love. And God. Spirit. And so my walk is just to uncover the truth of what all lies in my soul and my spirit. And so it's kind of like not a destination, but more like a discovery and fun. And just...
Yeah, you got to be playful and curious with it.
Yeah.
And then that goes like with your BHAG too. And then it can change. Like your BHAG is never the same.
Yeah. Remember in 2016, 2017, my BHAG was to get this information and this knowledge and this education so that everyone could be free of pain and suffering. And now my BHAG is not that.
Yeah.
My BHAG is to dance. And only people that, we don't have time for that podcast right now, but there's a lot of depth on what that actually means to dance, really. And there's so much there, right?
Yeah.
And I know it and I understand it. And it's my walk. It's my life. So it doesn't need to be explained. But yeah.
That was the 12th insight on grow. We have 24 more. So stay tuned for the 2 more sessions for 48 top insights, celebrating Raquel's birthday.
Yes, I'll be turning 48. So
48.
That's pretty exciting.
48 top insights. Oh, man. All right. So until then, we hope you heal, grow, and slay. And if you didn't catch the first part, you can catch the first part for 12 insights on how to heal. All righty. Thank you.